Hi, Sean here from the Trusted Agent Podcast, and thank you for joining us on today's show, where each week we talk to experts both inside the industry and outside the real estate industry to gain their unique perspectives on what they believe real estate agents can do to build their credibility, efficiencies, and connections with others. A huge shout out to our sponsor, Rezo Real Estate Sales Online, who's absolutely revolutionizing how real estate agents deal with prospective buyers and vendors. Their online platform that manages the offers and acceptance process is simple, easy to use, giving time back to the agents so they can do what they do best. All right, so stick with me and let's see who today's guest on the show is. Hi, everyone. Sean here from the Trusted Agent Podcast, and thank you so much for joining us today. I am joined by none other than Nicole Hatherly. Now, Nicole, it's great to have you on board.
Oh, so good to be here, Sean. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Me too. And for those that don't know Nicole Hatherly's work, Nicole is a global brand strategist, a leadership strategist, a profile expert, and an international keynote speaker and facilitator who's been running her own business called Brand True North that helps brand strategy agencies, is a brand strategy agency that's helping businesses identify their true self. First of all, I love the name.
It's a nod to Canada.
For those that don't know, I'm originally from Canada, so I was really excited to see the True North. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us today. Here at the Trusted Agent Podcast, we're really looking to help agents build stronger credibility, connection with others, and efficiency in organizational skills that will all ultimately lead to trust. When I've come across your work and a lot of the content that you have online, it was a no-brainer that I wanted to get you on the show to share your experience. But for those that don't know you personally or haven't come across your work, would you mind just taking a couple moments to give us a bit of a background as to who you are and what your mission is?
Absolutely. Absolutely. At my core, I'm a natural connector and storyteller. I always have been, always will be, and I've crafted my career around that. So I guess my career, I'm in the business of value, reputation, and impact, which at being a brand strategist works perfectly. And so I work with big brands across the globe, as you know. And then the last probably 2 or 3 years, I've really shifted into working with professional experts and thought leaders. And what I do with them is exactly what I do with the big organizations around the world. You know, for some reason, when you work with a brand strategist, it's only those organizations that can afford it. And we've got some really great tools. We've got frameworks and models and tools that sell great shit, but people can't access those. So it's my mission to absolutely smash that. And I use all of those amazing models and frameworks and everything that works. And I actually focus human to human. And so I'm on a mission to ignite over 20,000 professional experts like yourselves and thought leaders across the globe into action, into creating their impact and legacy. And doing that, it's just quite simple. It's aligning our vision, articulating our value, which is really challenging, and then amplifying our voice. If we can do that, we can all make shift happen.
Yeah. When we think about brands, and like brand itself has been around for ages, Ford, General Motors, General Electric, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, but that shift over to personal brand has only really come into the forefront, except for Carl Jung, many years ago.
In the archetypal, yeah.
That's right, but only in the last 10 to 15 years has there been a real shift for an individual to really identify themselves and position themselves as a brand.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Not many people know 1972 personal brand was born. And 1972 personal brand was quite different to what we look at now. And I'm at this epicenter, this really exciting space where in the last 2 years especially, personal brand has started to disintegrate. Right now, personal brand is really confusing. It's difficult. The biggest reason is in the next 3 years, we're going to have 75% of our global workforce as millennials. They don't have personal brand, Sean. They are their brand. So they're wondering, what is this personal brand? Personal brand was brought out of creating a persona for yourself that's different to your professional brand. That's when we were one person at work. Then we came home and we were one person. And that has slowly coming together until the pandemic would collide. I can see your kitchen. I can see, you know, if your kids run past, we see everyone's home, everyone's cats, everyone without any makeup and hair done, you know, it's collided. So I'm in this space where I've created what I call the signature brand. And all it is where our personal brand, our professional brand has collided, and we can all feel that. And that's what we're talking about today. But we've got our profile. How do we articulate that value? And that goes over the top. Underneath the bottom, Sean, it's got to be infused with our purpose, or else what the hell are we doing? Yes. So signature brand has got those 4 Ps that come together, and that's what I'm passionate about. You own your signature brand. It's not just your personal brand anymore. And your signature brand is just your value, your reputation in that structure, and your impact. It's all it is, brand. I'm so glad you brought that up, because we are talking personal brand here. Yeah. And all personal brand is reputation. Brand doesn't actually exist. Logos do, and the things you can touch and feel, but brand essentially is a perception. It's just in your heart and mind what my brand means. And so we've got to take ownership of our brand. We've got to own our narrative, or else there'll be a million narratives of ourselves running around, and we get to own it. We get to seed it, and we get to nurture it if we're self-aware.
I think self-awareness is such an important element, and a lot of people are scared to turn over the rocks and look at the squiggly sides, or even to engage with others. I remember once I was working with another brand expert, and we did an experiment where I went out and asked people that I knew and trusted, and really, it's good to ask the people that you actually care about and get their feedback, and not necessarily the feedback of those that you wouldn't otherwise get advice from. But I asked them to describe me in 3 words. And it was really interesting to see what sort of words came back.
Can you imagine if you asked everyone who you had some significant interaction with, hey, by the way, what are the 3 words that you'd associate with me? And build that word cloud. Can you imagine if you had this word cloud and you just kept putting those words in? You'll get to see some of those 2 or 3 or 4 words come out. And I love that idea. And every time you think about that, or you ask, just also think about, is that how I perceive myself? Is it how I want to be? Is it so far apart from how I perceive myself there's a big gap? Is it kind of interlinked, or is it exactly the same? We've always got that gap going on, and most of us don't mind the gap.
What do you think the risks are for, let's say, in the scenario of real estate agents, where they feel that they have to adopt a persona of what they believe a real estate agent should or could be versus who they authentically are? What are the risks that are at risk there?
Such a good question. Let's step back a moment, because you've touched on, if I go back and really get, as a strategist, I'll get to the core of something. The core, I believe the key fundamental cause of the breakdown of trust in the real estate agents world and industry is one thing, and it's what I call entrenched reputation generalization. Say that 3 times backwards.
No way.
But entrenched reputation generalization. Now that says what it does. So it's entrenched, and it's an industry reputation. It's not just real estate. I work with real estate agents with their reputation, in independent ones mostly, and buyers agents. I work in the building industry. So independent builders and how they build their reputation. I work with lawyers. I don't work with many used car sales people, but they're in the same. And advertising. I've been in advertising, marketing and comms for 28 years. I'm in that bucket. You know, and so the stakes are high. We're all in entrenched reputation generalization in our industries. That's the core. That's the problem statement that we're facing here.
What do you think's behind that for people that, you know, just fall into because what we're saying here is it's not necessarily earned, that reputation. It's a public perception.
Totally. It's not about you. It's them. It's the other 5%. Yeah. I'll tell you what it is. The other 5%, that will be, everyone will be loud about that. But the common denominator driving mistrust is the client. Because in all of these areas, not just real estate, but think about building when you're building a home. Think about law in the law where you're fighting sometimes for life. Advertising, when you put all of your money, if you're bootstrapping a startup, put all of your money into performance or SEM. In all of these areas, our clients have heightened emotion, high risk, and a focus on big results.
Yeah.
They focus less on the effort and factors and what's out of our control to deliver. That's a lot of pressure on you. It's a lot of pressure. So there's high stakes. They're looking for high results. They're emotional, largely generalized.
Yeah.
They're emotional. They have a lack of awareness. They haven't done this before. This is a big decision for them. They can't lose. They're literally betting their house sometimes. And they're feeling very vulnerable. So they're the factors. And so they're looking out. All their receptors are looking out for, I know this industry can't be trusted. I'm just going to look for all of those reasons. I can't. And it's our personal mission in real estate, in advertising and marketing, to buck that system. And so we can't take on we can't unconsciously align with it either. We can't take on the defensiveness. I don't know about you, Sean, but I've been to many barbecues where if I've been in advertising, people roll their eyes and, oh, you're that person. I don't stand there and defend the advertising agents, the advertising industry. Yeah. I just let them know how I do it differently. Yeah. I know what you're thinking. However, I'm value oriented, I'm relationship based, and I'm self-aware in the industry. So I kind of do things differently to most, and I get different results. And that's proved really, really fruitful for me, Sean. And that's something that everyone here listening can adopt as well. And we'll go into probably the three, you know me, nothing's without an activation. Yeah. This is not a lean back experience. So we'll dive into those three, into being value driven, into being relationship focused, and into being self-aware. They're the only three things we need to worry about. We just need to mind our own business.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right about the value driven. And I know what you mean about the barbecue, because when I first got into sales, I was from hospitality. I was in food and beverage for 10, 15, 20, almost 20 years.
So everyone loved you. You were getting them fed and drunk.
Yeah, exactly. That was basically my key to success in life, and still is. But when I moved into sales, I noticed that when I started talking to people I'm in sales, they go, oh, how could you do that? Or, oh yeah. I just went, hold on, I'm still the same guy. And where's this coming from? And I didn't understand that. Like, that was about 20 years ago now. But yeah, it was just really interesting. And how I used to get about it is, I don't sell.
Yeah,
I'm in sales, but I'm not a salesperson. And it was interesting how I almost not shunned it, but I tried to rise myself above the industry. I hear that about some people, but that's not me. So I think
that's it. And I would love to challenge everyone just in the next month as you're coming into, this quarter, this new quarter, is just really be aware of your defensiveness around the industry and how you might unconsciously align. And unconsciously aligning is actually go, oh, what does the client know? Oh, and we naturally do it in advertising, marketing, and brand. We do it. Where the people don't know how we do the magic. We can saw a person in half on the stage, and they don't care that one half is here and one half. They just know that person's not bleeding to death. Like, we're the magicians. We have the transformation. They don't actually know how we do it. They're just like amazed when they get the results. And that's our key. We just need to be, first of all, aware of how we might be defensive. Every marginalized community has that natural born defensiveness to defend their right, their honor, what they do. And we're no different. So just being mindful, and the challenge there is just watch over the next month or couple of months where that defensiveness comes up naturally inside, and how you can let it go, and actually how you can buck that system, that generational generalization of our industries, how you can actually be the catalyst for change.
Yeah, that is an interesting point because real estate agents have they don't have a shortage of receiving feedback from either
No.
vendors or potential buyers, whether it be through NPS or Rate My
Yes.
Agent or directly from them or through associates and feedback that they're getting from their team. But what do they do with it? And you're right, there is an unconscious bias for some agents out there to go, oh, that guy's just an idiot or they're a real problem. But isn't it also a wonderful gift and opportunity? If you get the feedback of someone having a perhaps a poor experience, because let's face it, and with the buyers, there's only usually one winner.
That's what we can't. Well, very rarely do we both walk away getting the high results that we need and want.
Yeah. So how do we actually handle that without just having that defensiveness and brushing it off? And what you'll challenge, I love how you do that, and everything that you've done and what I know of working with you as well is that you always put that challenge forward in action, an agent for action.
And I do that because once we plant the seed, once you know, you won't unknow. It's kind of a wicked unconscious thing that I'm doing to you right now. But the next time you feel that defensiveness or someone goes, real estate, I know your type, you'll feel that and you'll remember me. No, you'll go, let's have some fun here and challenge that bias of them and my and we naturally align. It's our identity. We identify, everyone here will identify with being a real estate agent. Identity is a reputation, and in that reputation is a behavior. We can't change the reputation and identity of a industry, but we can change our behavior within that. And we can surprise and delight at every turn. We don't have to tell people we're not like that. We show people we're not like that.
Yeah. And I guess that's what the challenge that we have with that generalized bias is, that whether or not you believe that you deserve that title or not, it doesn't matter. In most cases, they're meeting you for the first time. They haven't had a chance to get to know you yet. So what they're consciously doing is looking to either validate what they're already thinking about people within the real estate industry, or looking for prove me wrong. And so that is an opportunity. And you'll have some people that cross arms and go, no, I'm just going to stick with it. And they're going to be a bit of a hard task. But if you can find those ones that are open-minded, that are, look, I'm new to this and I'm actually looking for value here. And that might go into your next point is, what's your take on, Celeste, about the network and the numbers and what shift are we seeing in the industry?
Perfect. Let's start with value driven, as you've just done it. And the question is, do we care in every interaction? So do you care as a real estate sales professional? Do you care about proving the reputation wrong, or do you just mind your own business and look to be value driven? And you and I had a great conversation about we're at the bottom of the profession. So when you look at the three least trusted professions in Australia, sales agents are only pipped at the post by marketers and car salespeople. So I'm even more below you. But that's the type of industry we work in, right? But we need to lift the standards and reputation for the industry, but that's a long-term collective thing. And I feel it's going the right way with transparency, with a lot more peer reviews, etc. But shift happens, and those top three shifts, we're responsible of being value-driven, relationship-focused, and or kind of self-aware. You don't have to do any of these. If you're transactional and you're truly transactional in your nature, then you will attract only transactional people to work with you, and that's okay. But that's going to be the minority. And before I dive into value driven, I know this firsthand. I'm not just kind of looking in from the outside. I am an investor, and so I've got quite a healthy investment portfolio in property. And for me, I'm a certified financial planner. So I've done my IG 146 through Deakin University. I know macro and microeconomics, but still, I'm just perplexed. I buy and sell, and I've just sold a couple off the market and buying in and rising again. I haven't seen any of my properties. I never do. They're stock for me. But still, I'm so highly invested. I'm so highly emotional. I'm so confused. I'm like, what did they just do? And how do we? And so I'm sitting in the middle. I can't imagine and the people that the people who you're listening to, that spectrum of people that you need to change your spots for. So there's going to be the highly emotive people who've never done this before. They're only going to do it once, and by goodness, they need results. They really need results. Mine, I'm okay. I've got that buffer. Mine is a risk return. I understand it. I know what I'm playing with. I haven't bet the farm. It's stock for me. I was telling you before, I probably am one of 40 owners of every property I own. I don't know. I never know. But that's the nature of me. And still I'm highly emotive. And then you've got people who are highly transactional. And so we need to change our spots. But when we're talking about value driven, if we build for the masses, and the masses are people who are doing this once or doing this twice, highly emotive, they're vulnerable, they have low knowledge and low experience of this. And the top of the professions, you've got doctors and nurses. So we're at the bottom, doctors and nurses at the top. And it got me thinking, what are they doing that we're not doing? And I think they're facing patients exactly the same as we're facing our clients. So these patients, come into emergency, someone's impaled their arm on, I don't know, fallen off a balcony. These people are highly emotive. They haven't had this experience before. They really high stakes. They don't know what's going on. They're confused and vulnerable. So we've got really similar feeling and acting people. Yep. But the doctors are the highest, because when you look at how the doctors act, they can't be, so they talk in facts, they talk in dollars, they let other people talk for them as well. They'll sit down and they'll bring that heightened drama and emotion down. Now, we can't do that in real estate or marketing. We've got the hype, but we can actually shift from never selling anything again. And when I say selling, and the true definition of selling is to leverage the fear. It's that leverage the fear that person has. I'm going to get you the best. I'm going to get you the best dollar. I'm going to get you. If we shift from never, ever selling anything again and shift to being the most valuable resource for that other person, right at the heart of their emotional vulnerability, their lack of understanding and experience, their lack of visibility, and they're in need of making a big decision under pressure. What if we were, like that doctor or nurse, the most valuable resource for the other person at that time? We could have a bit of hype there. Yeah, but let's just look at, am I value driven or am I sales driven? Can you be both? Absolutely. But value driven has to be in there. We have to talk numbers. We have to talk probability. And we have to speak to people human to human. Doctors don't play on lack and fear, nor do we largely in real estate. So it's just being mindful of being value driven. What's the most, how can I be the most valuable resource here? And when it comes down to it, when it comes to auction time, when it comes down to it, that is selling and doing a mighty good job. But are you truly value driven or sales driven? And that's a really interesting, no right or wrong, but that will drive your reputation.
Yeah, absolutely. If you think about the exchange of contracts at that moment where the sale, it's happening, it's there, but it's the lead up. It's the courtship. It's the journey that you've taken all the potential buyers on and the vendors on. It's if you're creating value and insights and transparency and backed with data and having empathy as well, and a healthy balance. Yeah. When they get to the sale, they're going to be far more comfortable. They're going to be far more confident, and they're going to have more certainty in your skills as a professional agent as well, which all leads to greater credibility and trust.
So let's walk into every potential interaction as a partner, not a supplier.
John Cunningham on our first podcast release, he mentioned that as well. We're going into partnership here.
What if you partnered with every single person? What if they weren't a client, but they were a home buying or home selling partner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
And that comes into relationship focus. So we've got a decision here we can make. We can be the most, we can know the most amount of people, and we can stay that surface level when it comes to, I guess, networking and throwing out our cards everywhere and Most of us work in a small patch. I'm talking about a geographical patch when it comes to everyone listening here, possibly. I work in a small area. It's not geographical, but brand strategy is quite a small area as well. So I understand how cutthroat that is. I work with the buyer's agent, but I also work with my real estate agents as well in my areas. And I understand how cutthroat that is. And with the number of properties I have, do you know the amount of DM, direct mail that I get, that other people want to be selling that one place, and I've got multiple of them? I'm like, I'm ruining trees everywhere. So I know how cutthroat is it. But what if we shifted, when it comes to relationship building, what if we shifted from, being the best networker in town to investing time, empathy, care, and energy in creating and cultivating those meaningful relationships? So what if it has to be a volume game? I understand that. That's our funnel. But what if it was less of a volume game when you got these relationships and hooked them in, and you had these people for life and they were your raving fans?
Yeah.
So let's not go surface and create a number of people who might know of you, but let's go deep and create raving fans that will spruik for you for the rest of their life.
Yeah,
and
I think
so
that's really important.
Yeah, and it's not how many people you know, it's how well you know the people you connect with. And so being human and vulnerable yourself. You heard me at the beginning actually say I'm a natural connector and storyteller. I'm in the business of reputation. I'm in the business of impact, and I'm in the business of value. Not once did I tell you that I was a global brand strategist. So I wonder, here's another challenge. When someone asks, what do you do, or who are you? They're not actually asking that, by the way. What do you do? They're asking, what do you do for me at a barbecue, wedding, bar mitzvah, whatever it is. They just want to have that next conversation with you. So probably you're like you, leading with, I'm a real estate agent, or leading, I'm a marketer. Oh, I'm just going to go and have a drink. Who are you without those labels? Who are you? Can you actually answer that going, I've got one of the best jobs in the world? And as John Cunningham, I haven't missed any of your episodes, Sean, as John Cunningham said in his interview, I match people with their perfect home. So what if someone said, so what do you do, Sean? And you go, I've got one of the best, most rewarding jobs in the world. First off, no one says that. So you're like, what is it?
Yeah, that's right.
And the second is, I get to match people with their perfect home and see them thrive.
Yeah. When we go in sales, some of us were taught in the beginning and around the barbecue discussion and how to navigate that. And there's a couple of acronyms. I'll go to the Ford one, which is FORD, family, occupation, recreation, and then go deep. If you go with those, you can move O to F and R, but the D is the last one.
I love it.
But what's funny is that your events, you do an interesting exercise with your audience where they have to introduce themselves to the person next to them. But what are the stipulations you put on that one?
Yeah, this is so I have rooms of up to 1,000 salespeople. I have in the past. They don't necessarily know each other. I get everyone to stand up and I get everyone to introduce themselves. But wait, you've got 3 minutes to introduce yourself, or your partner introduce yourself. There's only 4 rules, and I put that on the big board at the back. First, you can't mention anything about your work or your business or work orientation. So what your role, you can't talk about your role in business. You also can't talk anything geographical. So you can't say, hi, I'm from Ireland and now I live in Sydney. And so you can't talk about anything geographical. You can't talk about your family standing. I'm a mum of 3 kids. I'm a husband and a brother and a son. None of that. And I can't remember the 4th one. The 4th one was about, and age, no age. That's it. So actually no numbers. So I've been here for 13 years. So I'm from Ireland. I now live in Sydney. I've been here for 13 years. So no numbers, no geographic, no work standing or role, and no family standing.
Get a solid room.
And everyone just goes, what? And I stand up there and I go off the cuff. It's always different, actually, Sean, so mine will be different now. You've heard this. I say, hi, I'm Nicole Hatherly. I'm a natural connector and storyteller, always have, always will be. I'm passionate about identity and reputation and value and articulation. I love etymology and I love the power that words have. I could probably tell you the etymology of most words that you give me. And I'm a great hugger.
I'm a great hugger too, but COVID damn near killed me. I wasn't allowed to go anymore.
Oh, well, I'm an introvert hugger, so that's really confusing.
Oh, really?
I'm like, if I have to go out, I'm going to hug, but do I want to go out? No.
How do you even leave the house? I do not.
I'm discombobulated, Sean.
Great word. Great word.
So that's probably all we need to dive into when it comes to, are you truly relationship focused? Are you truly ingrained in those relationships, and are you interested in nurturing them? Again, if you're not, that's okay. However, you're going to be discombobulated. You're going to be a different person at work to coming home. And as we go forward in 2022 and beyond, that's going to be harder to actually be a direct transactional person at work. Unless you're a direct transactional person at home, then you're fine. You know exactly who you are, but you will only appeal to a small amount of friends, family, and work situations. But largely, we want to be value-driven and relationship-focused. The third one we've got today, Sean, is, and we've touched on it, is that self-awareness. How brave are we going to be in 2022? So shifting from building your reputation by default to driving it by design.
Yeah.
And what I mean there is when you build your reputation by default, you don't really care what people are saying about you. You actually don't know what they're saying when you're not in the room, or you do and you do nothing to change it. And so that building your reputation by default leaves it in everyone else's hands, and we've got our blinkers on, so we've got blind spots. I'm a big believer in, I can't say that word, stuff it. It's happening anyway. I want to know. I want to know everything that's going on. I've taken the stigma out of feedback being positive or negative, and I actually don't call it feedback anymore, Sean. I call it feed forward. Feedback holds us back. Getting the understanding and information of how people are thinking, feeling, what they're saying and doing propels me forward.
Now you have a really key challenge here for our listeners and viewers today, and we have two groups of five.
Five and five, absolutely.
And I honestly, for those that are listening and watching us today, do this. Really take the time and do this. Show that courage, and you'd be amazed at what you might actually come back with. And don't do it just once, but do it every 6 months. And we say we're always going to do these things, but we never seem to find the time or we did it once in the beginning, but we haven't done it since. So can you run us through what the two challenges are for our viewers and listeners?
Absolutely. And I love how you say you've got to do, well, you don't. Let's put the challenge out. We're all whales at the bottom of the ocean, and it's black at the bottom of the ocean. The only way the whale can maneuver through, or our dolphins, or in fact our submarines, is through sonar. And sonar at its, and I love the whole idea of sonar. I just want to know, have you got your sonar on or off? And what that means is you can be going through the bottom of that treacherous ocean and bumping into everything. You actually don't know where you're going. But when you've got sonar, you put those sonar waves out and you get information back to know where to navigate. That's all this is. So it's your choice, everyone listening and viewing, whether you switch your sonar on or off. So let's do this. So I've got 5 by 5. So 5 questions for you, and only you know this. This is like dipping our toe in. Everyone can do this. And if you don't do this, we've just wasted half an hour. No, if you don't do this, you'll be thinking about this and inclined to do it. So this is where you get half an hour, a piece of paper, or whatever you scribe in. A piece of paper is great. It's that writing through you kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And these questions are in the show notes, aren't they, Sean? So you don't have to write these down if you're driving. Hopefully you don't write these down if you're driving. So these will be in Sean's show notes, so you won't miss a beat. So the first challenge is to ask yourself these 5 following questions. The first one is, why do my clients work with me instead of other agents? And I don't want surface question answers. I want you to go deep. Why do my clients work with me? This is the equivalent of me asking you, Sean, what do people say about you when you're not in the room?
Yeah.
Self-aware people go, oh, they say this, this, and this. Unaware people go, oh, how do I know? How would I ever know? I'm not in the room. But it's those people who know what's being said. The second one is, what are my areas of expertise that I'm best known for?
Yep.
The third is, when it comes to real estate, what am I passionate about? Not what I'm good at, not what I do day in, day out. Truly dig deep. When it comes to real estate, what am I passionate about? Fourth is, who do I love to help? Not who's got the fattest wallets, not who's the easiest to deal with. Who do I love to help?
Is this the same as client profiling, or is it something?
No, let's have it wider. It can be client profiling. Great question. It can be, but it can be. I work with 2 independent real estate agents in different states in Australia, and I do this with them every 6 months. And one of them, she's great. She's been in the industry for almost 30 years. And when I asked this question, or we posed this question, I said, who do you love to help? And she said, Maggie. Like, who? She said, I haven't remembered this story for so long, but there was this woman, and she was a single mother. Her husband up and left, and she had 2 kids, and she just needed to protect the kids. The assets were frozen, and she just told me this story about Maggie. And she said, when you asked me, who do I love to help? I've probably helped about 4 or 5 Maggies in my time. I can't always help Maggies, but what that agency does now is they give back to the women's shelter in their community. So we were able to work on how she could actually help more Maggies. She couldn't sell them more property or homes, but what we did was take a percentage of the homes that she did sell, or they did sell, and they actually had a cash donation every I think it was every quarter to the 3 local women's shelters. So it really unearths things in you. So it can be your persona. Absolutely. That's the type of person I want, and I love to help. I'm just going to niche into that and swim in my lane.
Yeah.
So lots of things come out of that question. It's the shortest question. It probably gives you the most insight.
I love it.
And the 5th one, and I love this. I just got goosebumps. I love this 5th one. Why did I become an agent? Why did I become an agent?
Mm-hmm.
And answer yourself honestly. No one else is going to see this. No one else cares. But for you to be self-aware. In addition to that, so that's dipping your toe in. That's really, really, really low risk. Yeah. Now it comes into those who want to take it next level. In addition, you can also zero in on what makes you different in the marketplace. So combined with the internal intelligence, let's just get it external intelligence. This is not feedback, Sean. This is feed forward. These are your blind spots. This is information that will propel you forward if we take our egos out of it. So here's the 5, asking your past clients or your current clients these 5 questions. This is not an NPS. Well, the one question is an NPS, but we ask why rather than a detractor and raving fans. So you can do this a number of ways. You can have a cup of coffee with the top 5 and challenge yourself. Also ask some of the clients that didn't have such a fantastic experience with you and watch them turn into absolute fans of yours. I'll tell you a story about that in a moment. The first question is, why did you choose to work with me and not another agent? Why did you choose to work with me and not another agent? And it's a great challenge to your client going, well, it's because Susie and Hank had a really good experience with you. So I thought I'd try you. It's because, and you get a flavor of understanding why they chose and stuck with you. The second question is, for your client, what was your experience like working with me, and what stood out to you? So what was your experience working with me? Oh, it was really easy. I thought it was going to be tough. I've heard about real estate agents, but it was great. And what stood out was you always answer the phone. You know, it's just those little things. You pick up where that trust, these are all trust. You always answer the phone. I thought you were going to be different. So you get these clues. The third question is, what mattered most to you during our interaction? I guess the fact that you always kept me across what was going to happen, but didn't sell it big. You know, you met my expectations, could be one of them. Mm-hmm. The fourth one is, would you refer me to friends, and why or why not? That's a bold one. A bit of NPS, but it's a human NPS. And the fifth one, I love this one. I do this. So every client I work with, they get these questions basically. What can I do better for my future clients? What can I do better for my future clients? So this isn't putting you on the spot going, hey, if we work to get together again, what could I do differently? Oh, I really hated the way you did. What could I do better? For future clients, possibly just answer the phone more.
Yeah.
I know what it is. So it neutralizes. You can see these questions. We worked hard to neutralize the emotion in it.
Yeah. I love those. And that's like a testimonial on steroids. It's supercharged, because imagine the feedback, the quality of feedback that you're getting from your previous clients, whether buyers or vendors, on each perspective. It's actually a blueprint for success. You're going to see commonalities across all of the answers, I'm certain. And you're going to get, as you said, these wonderful testimonials. So we actually turn these around, and I actually I'm a sentence starter. What that means, and everyone here can take this on, and it's been one of the best ways to get testimonials. Start the sentence. And so what that means is, before working with Nicole, I was feeling. After working with Nicole, I now feel. Yeah. And so when it comes to brand reputation, the work I do, before I was working with Nicole, I felt, and people answer that question, but it's a perfect testimonial. So you can actually turn that into a testimonial. So, Barbara and Mac chose to work with me and not another agent because of the word of mouth, So you turn all of these responses into testimonials. Always check it out with your clients that you can use them like that. And the way that you've approached it, rather than saying, hey, can you give me a testimonial? They will be more than happy, because this is a conversation. A relationship. Exactly. Yeah. And so all you're doing is sharing a conversation. The hardest thing that we can ever ask our clients is just straight out, can you give me a testimonial? They don't know where to start. Yeah. If we can create that testimonial and go, is this close to your feeling? And can we share that more people can feel like you? Game over. Yeah. Job's done. When you get to the end, and you say, if you wouldn't mind, if you want to leave a Google review or rate my agent, at least you've given them the thought starters to get them started on that. Have this conversation first, and then, because it's largely a positive one, they're just going to love that you've asked, that you're self-aware enough. And then your call to action is, I've loved this conversation and I want more people to feel like you. And it's been really honest. Do you mind extending that and giving? No, you've given them the food for thought. Excellent. I love it. That's the challenge for listeners and viewers today. 5 and 5. 5 and 5. It won't take much of your time, but the benefit from that, I guarantee, would be amazing. Absolutely. And looking at self-awareness, also in your show notes, we've got a very special giving away our value map. So it's our signature value map exercise. So we've taken it out of one of my signature programs, which is called Articulate Your Value. And we're actually making it free for all of your peeps. So there'll be the link there in the show notes. Go into that. The value map is a bit of a deeper dive into what your skills and talents are, what you're passionate about, what you feel your purpose is, your identity and reputation. And I'll actually walk you through starting to see the threads that have gone through your career and what those unique identifiers you can hang your hat off, and how to articulate your value that makes you stand out from the crowd. I'm going to jump in and do that myself. I know, it's so cool. Thank you so much for making that available to our viewers and listeners today. I really do appreciate that. Absolutely. It's so much fun. And the more people on this planet who can align their vision, articulate their value, and amplify their voice, I've done my job. I know that you love just branding awesome humans. So
Yes.
it's been great to have you on the show today, Nicole. And I
Thanks,
really do
Sean.
appreciate your time. I know you're incredibly busy. So thank you for joining us today. If anybody would like to get in contact with you, either to attend one of your workshops, seminars, or book you, or training, or anything, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can chat with me on LinkedIn is the best way, Nicole Hatherly, and then look up Brand True North. My email is nicole@brandtruenorth. You'll get straight to me, but get curious and but probably just value map and subscribe to everything that we do. We send and give out very generously a lot of what we work with, just so more people can get on brand and on purpose.
Again, delivering greater value.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Sean, and thanks everyone listening and viewing, and thanks for taking on the challenges. I can't wait to hear your feedback. Let me know how you go with them. This is not just a one-way conversation. This is the start of a great conversation.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time, Nicole. For our viewers and listeners today, thank you for joining us on the show today, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Trusted Agent Podcast. All the best. Bye.